Well, you might remember a while ago we talked with the superintendent in the Lakeview schools about a policy that actually made state news, if not better than that, because it was a step that not many districts have been willing to take. That is, in their estimation, removing a distraction from the classroom. And you don't have to be a high school student to be addicted to your phone. And a lot of us are, but in school, the notion is there's a lot of things we could be focused on instead of that. And so the Lakeview High School decided they would ban cell phones this school year. So now what are we? A little shy of a couple of months into the school year, and we're curious about how that's turned out. And so today we've invited to the program a couple of student journalists who've been following this. Jessica Hughes is the editor of the Lakeview Crystal newspaper. Good morning.
Good morning.
And also here today is the assistant editor, Taryn Snyder. Both of you are seniors, right?
Yep.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here with us today.
No problem.
So not only did this happen, of course, but the two of you and your staff at the paper decided to approach this from a journalistic angle, didn't you? What did you do?
Well, we took it upon the staff to come up with something that we all agree upon, and one of the biggest things that happened in our school this year is the cell phone policy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to cover it in our paper because it's one of the harder news stories that we have, even though it's opinion. We definitely wanted to talk about it, and we took the opinions of everybody on our staff, and we were all for the cell phone policy because it would definitely help with distractions and things like that in our classrooms.
Yeah. So as you pull together that editorial opinion, which is, how papers do that. It's not just one person who comes up with that.
Mm-hmm.
You discovered that you were unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we knew we had to write about the cell phone policy. I mean, it was huge news, not only in our district, but like you said, in the state as well. And so we knew we had to write about it. And it was, nobody really felt that strongly against it to where they were going to be able to write a decent cell phone or a decent opinion article about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, well, what is the opinion on that? And so then we kind of started talking about it, and we're like, actually, we're all paying attention in class way more, and maybe it's not as bad as we thought it was going to be to start with.
Okay, very interesting. So that was among your staff.
Mm-hmm.
What about in the school? As this thing was announced, were you hearing reaction to that from your friends?
Were we hearing it?
A lot of people were very upset.
Why?
It's different. We've gone our whole high school career as seniors without the cell phone policy, and then our last year it got changed, so it's obviously very different of a thing for us. We went 3 years being able to go on our cell phones after doing all our work, and it's just a lot different now. It might be difficult for a lot of people to have that sort of change.
Well, we'll talk about that in just a minute. In fact, when we come back from this break, we'll talk about what it was like before in the classroom when you could have your cell phone, and now what it's like without it. And that's coming up in just a minute on WBCK 850. We're here with Jessica Hughes and Taryn Snyder, both with Lakeview High School seniors. In fact, they're both on the Crystal newspaper. In fact, Jessica's the editor, Taryn is the assistant editor, and they wrote an opinion about this Lakeview High School cell phone ban, which we're learning has turned out to be not such a big deal. But when the news came out, people were not so thrilled about it, I imagine. So talk about what it was like in the classroom before. Could you have your cell phone out while classwork was going on?
The big thing was that it was all to the teacher's discretion. There's kind of a lack of unity across both. I mean, obviously, like every classroom teacher had a different policy. Most of them were the same. I don't want to see it. Don't have it out. But then there were teachers who were, you can have it out, but you have to be done with your work. And then there are other ones who said, like, one teacher in our district has, like, a calculator sleeve thing, shoe organizer type of deal.
Uh-huh.
And she made you put your phone in there to take attendance.
Oh.
And so like there's just such a variety of policies, and so that was the big thing, was that some teachers were okay with it, others weren't. Some enforced their own policy, others didn't. So that was kind of a big struggle for a lot of students.
Might have been hard to keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But with that teacher that kept the calculator sleeve with the cell phones, people became so dependent on their cell phones, and they got such bad anxiety from having it so far away from them that they started putting just buckets in the center of the tables, and you had to put your cell phone in there so you could still see it right in front of you.
It was
a little ridiculous.
yeah, like actually it's a lot ridiculous actually how dependent that has become.
I'm laughing, but I think there are adults who can't criticize this because, if someone here in the office leaves their phone in their car or at home or something, there's this immediate, thing that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, yesterday I went to the dentist. I'm not going to use my phone in the dentist, so I left it in the car. But after I was sitting in the waiting room, you say,
reading magazines from 10 years ago.
I wonder if I got that email. Actually, they were current magazines, but
That's nice.
You're sitting there wondering, I wonder if that email came, or wonder if there's a weather advisory or a text or something that I'm missing. You have that feeling. So, yes, people felt better if it was there. How are those people dealing with the fact they can't take their cell phones out now?
A lot of them are still complaining. It's still going to be a problem for years to come because people want to be on their cell phones. They're going to become a bigger thing. They're going to become more dependent on it for years to come, and it's just going to be a problem for some people, but it's not that big of a deal if you really take a big step back and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have it in the classroom. They don't like to they're not like frisking people as they walk in the door, right? But if a teacher can see it, they have the authority to send you to ISS.
Is that the office or something?
That is in school suspension, and you drop your phone off and then come back to class.
I see.
So then it's there all day, and then you're really screwed over if you don't like to be without your phone.
Yeah.
So the phone is in quarantine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Confiscation.
Uh-huh.
And I think your parent has to come pick it up. That might be after the second time or something.
Yeah, I'm not
I know
actually
your
sure.
parent has to come pick it up at some point. I've never gotten mine taken away because it's not a big problem for me. So
Yeah, but people can have it in the classroom, so it can be in your pocket or whatever. But if the teacher can see it, you can be sent to ISS. But
So nobody could think of a structured reason to not have this policy when you started talking about it amongst yourselves and the staff?
not really. I mean, we all pretty much had the same opinion on it. It sucks, but we need it, and it's not that bad.
Okay.
and we have to be mature about it too. Like sometimes, even if we don't agree with it, that's another thing. As I was on all kinds of social media when this was announced, people were, I'm still gonna have my phone out. This is the dumbest rule ever. Yada yada yada.
People still do
I'm
have their
like-
phone out. It's
I'm like, you have to be mature enough to understand that sometimes rules are rules, and we don't always get to choose which ones we're gonna follow and not be punished for it. So I think that's actually a really big learning experience for a lot of people.
It's a life lesson.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. We're talking with Jessica and Taryn. They're editor and assistant editor, respectively, of the Lakeview High School newspaper. We're talking about this new policy that went into effect this school year. No cell phones in class. And you've heard a little bit about what the ramifications of that are. We'll talk more about that when we come back in just a second. Let's check. We are here with two folks from Lakeview High School, both seniors. Jessica Hughes, editor of the Crystal newspaper. Taryn Snyder is assistant editor. They wrote an opinion, an editorial about the lack of cell phones, in fact, a cell phone ban that took place at the beginning of the school year. You made a point during the break, Jessica, about one of the life lessons involved in all of this, and you said it nicely. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so the thing with technology, everyone wants to be connected. We want to be connected to our emails, our Instagrams, our Twitters, our Facebooks, everything, Wi-Fi, connection. And I think one thing that the cell phone ban has really encouraged is connecting to people and not to technology. And we connect to people that we otherwise wouldn't really have talked to. We would have sat by them in class for 12 weeks and never have known that, oh, they're in the marching band, or oh, they like to hunt, or whatever their passion in life might be. We don't get to notice that when we're always on our phones. So I think that's honestly the biggest benefit that this has been, is really being able to connect with people on a really personal level outside of our, 3x2 inch screens.
Do you think that's true, Taryn?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've noticed even myself connecting more with people. I've been talking a lot more with my staff members. I'm up and going around and talking to people instead of just figure it out yourself, look it up on Google on your phone.
I was wondering about that. So when you could use your phone, could you access, if you were not doing a test or something, did you access information on the web?
We did. That's another issue. The reason that they were able to make this policy is we went one-to-one with technology this year. We have one Chromebook for every student. And while Chromebooks may be more cumbersome than we would like, that's the biggest struggle actually with the phone policy, is things that you used to use your phone for as a tool. I play in the orchestra. We use them as metronomes and tuners and all kinds of things. And on the Crystal, we use them to record interviews. And not being able to use them as the tool, that is the most difficult part. And
we're trying to make things as accurate as possible. It's really difficult when we have to write word for word what people are saying.
Going old school.
Right.
But
old school.
Do you have a tape recorder you could use instead?
We have some that are supposed to be being ordered.
But for our first issue, we had one from the 80s that we had to use.
It was a cassette tape, I'm pretty sure.
There's probably a couple of those floating around in this building somewhere. Yeah. All right. So, those of us who are a little older might have trouble understanding why those of you in your generation are so connected to your phones. Did you find that was the case? Did you find that you had adults saying to you, "What's the big deal?"
Well, a little bit, because cell phones weren't a big thing when they were a kid.
Right.
They had just these giant phones that they were wireless, and that's the only reason that they were even remotely close to what we have now. Now we can do pretty much anything on our phones, and it's really difficult to give that up.
I hate to even tell you, when I was in school, all phones had cords. And all you did with them is make phone calls.
I was talking about this with my best friend yesterday, and she said that we were talking about how, in the same way that boom boxes and bell-bottom jeans and everything, those are previous generations. That's their thing, so to speak, and ours is cell phones, and it's really unfair, I think, for older people to not give us the same. That's our generation. That's what we do. And while it's different than yours, you huddled around boom boxes, okay? We're huddling around iPhones. That's just a difference that I think people should be more aware of, than that it's just a generational gap. It's not necessarily right or wrong.
It's very kind of you to make that comparison. We weren't allowed boom boxes in class. See that?
Can't imagine why.
So time is fleeting. Where are you going to go after you graduate?
I'm going to Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Really?
Going into constitutional law.
Wow.
That's the end game, but...
Well, I see, based on your perspective on these things, you're able to remove yourself and look at the rules, as you talked about. So I see the budding lawyer in you already. How about you, Taryn?
I haven't decided yet. I'm still applying for colleges, seeing where I want to go. I've gone to quite a few of the college visits at our school, and I'm just figuring out what I like to do and what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Good for you. Sometimes we don't necessarily have to have the answer by the graduation day, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, congratulations to both of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And thank you for bringing us up to speed on how people feel about this.
Thanks for
This
having
policy.
us.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you. Have a great day and good luck.
Thanks.
8:30.